Hello and welcome to Might Be Awesome. My name is Sam Basher.
And I'm DJ Wooldridge.
And today we're reviewing Angel Has Fallen, the third installment in the Gerard Butler Saves the World franchise. Now, this movie is directed by Rick Roman Waugh and is written by Robert Mark Kamen, Matt Cook, and Rick Roman Waugh. Whew, hard to say. And this stars Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, Nick Nolte, Lance Reddick, Piper Perabo, Jada Pinkett Smith, Danny Huston, and Tim Blake Nelson. Quickie synopsis. Secret Service agent Mike Banning is framed for the attempted assassination of the president and must evade his own agency and the FBI as he tries to uncover the real threat. This is hitting theaters August 23rd, 2019. If you're watching this now, that's this Friday.
Yep.
That's this Thursday if you want to make it out. And we'll throw this out there. There's no Rotten Tomatoes score as of yet because we were able to see it a little early. Thank you, Lionsgate. Also, there is a post-credit scene. Just getting that out of the way. There is one at least.
Or is it technically a mid-credit?
It's mid, but you'll get it basically immediately, and then you can bounce right after.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I have not seen the previous two Has Fallen movies. Have you seen the first two Has Fallen movies? So we've not. So this is our first.
When the year that Olympus Has Fallen came out, we had a very similar movie starring
White House Down.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum. And I believe that was directed by Roland Emmerich.
There you go.
And
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I will say at the time, it's like if you only see one White House under attack movie, White House Down was the one to see apparently. But I will say that one didn't get any sequels.
It didn't. It didn't get two more sequels.
It didn't get two more sequels starring everybody's favorite Gerard Butler.
Hey, I have nothing against him. He's had some. It feels like some weird decisions regarding his casting in movies over the past couple of years. Geostorm. But hey, as long as he's having a good time, which he looks like he's having a good time in these movies, good for him. So we have not seen the first two movies. We're just reviewing this movie in a little vacuum.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't seem to really. This movie doesn't really mention the other two, so
I will say this. Actually, that's one of my pluses is that you don't need to have any prior knowledge of the Has Fallen universe to get into this movie. In fact, I would argue maybe it benefits. Yeah, because for me, when you get into this stuff and you think about what's happening in this movie, you start thinking about like, wait, this happened 2 times earlier? This is insane.
Yeah, and you have doubts about him.
Yeah.
He is basically Superman right now. There's no reason for you to doubt him whatsoever, but we'll get into it. So I'll just throw this out there. If you're a fan of like late 80s, early 90s Harrison Ford movies where it's man against FBI, man against country, man against police, you're going to like this movie. It literally is paint by numbers exactly what that movie is. But walking out of the theater, I had 2 feelings. 1, I actually had a good time watching this movie. And 2, we were in the weirdest movie theater.
The screening. Yeah, the screening was wild. The screening was wild. We'll save that for the.
We've got some stories. That's for a treat for the end for you to stay. That's boost our analytics. So, DJ.
Yes.
What did you think of this movie?
I think if you're like, 40 to 50, and you're like, man, I'm really enjoying just watching Fox News all day, but I want to take a break and make a quick run to the theater. This is the movie for you.
You know what? Hey, I'll spin that a little bit and say, if you're like, I've already gone through 15 seasons of NCIS and I don't want to watch the spinoffs yet. Go watch this movie.
If you're like, man, I've really been enjoying Bosch and Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime, but I want like a movie of the same quality, not like you think like movie quality. No, it's the same quality. This is the movie for you.
And you know what? My parents, shout out, are huge fans of the NCIS connected universe, whatever you want to call it. They watch Bosch as well.
Yeah.
And so I think this would be way up their alley. I do have a fondness for political thrillers.
Yes.
I think there are stronger ones out there.
Yeah.
I'd even throw this out there, even though it's a mix with superhero. Captain America Winter Soldier is a great political drama. Also, I love every Harrison Ford version of this movie. So I actually had a pretty good time watching this movie. I think plot-wise, you know what's happening. You know who the antagonist is as soon as they walk on screen, even though it's like wait a second, who is the real bad guy? You know, as soon as you see their face, you're like,
I will say, but it's not Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
it's not Morgan Freeman. Spoilers, I guess. I will say there was another thing I liked about the movie is it's so painfully obvious who the antagonist is that I'm glad the movie doesn't like string it on for too long. About halfway through, it's like, never mind. It's this guy.
I'd say within about 15 minutes, the movie kicks off with what the plot is, and so you don't waste any time.
Yeah.
It's mainly Gerard Butler versus the entire movie. Now, this movie, going into it, if you walk out and you're a little bummed that you kind of could see all the plot points coming, I feel like that's on you. Like, I mean, you may have known, if you saw one trailer or saw the poster, you know that this is paint by numbers, and that is totally okay. I think it's a pretty fine blockbuster movie. If you wanted something like that, if you wanted to go in some air-conditioned dark room for like 2 hours plus.
It's summer. Hey, listen, it's summertime.
Hey, treat yourself. Take your friends. Take your dad.
Yeah,
that's who you take. That's who you take to this movie. But overall, when it came to the action and the performances from the actors in this movie, I think everything is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie really ever super excels except for one aspect, and that trophy goes to Mr. Nick Nolte.
Yeah, the best. If you saw the trailer and you see that like Nick Nolte's in the movie and you're like, I wonder if he's the best part. Of course, he's the best part of the movie.
At first, I was like, because the trailer teases Gerard Butler's character Manning teaming up with his dad, and you're like, oof, don't care about that. And even when they show Nick Nolte, I'm like, don't care about that.
Yeah.
But they go full Nick Nolte. It's like when you let Nick Cage and Mandy go full Nick Cage, and you're like, this is masterful.
Yeah.
When that's not what this is, but when Nick Nolte comes on screen, it's kind of like, let's just see what he does. And when you get to see him go have the most fun I've seen him have in a movie since Tropic Thunder, it's really rewarding. The entire theater was laughing at every funny point, every funny joke that he had, even if it wasn't supposed to be funny, like his big action scenes. I'm like, this is great though. They really lean into all of his strengths.
My only knock there is he's kind of superfluous to everything. To be fair though, everything in the movie feels kind of superfluous. It's like things are just happening just to happen. Like it doesn't feel like cohesive in any sort of way, and maybe part of that is the direction. The direction is very like sub Paul Greengrass, like that era in like the mid 2000s where people saw the Bourne movies like, oh, so you just move the camera around a lot and that's action. That's what action is. And it's like, well, no, just no. And there's a lot of like poor Morgan Freeman like having to like react to things that aren't on screen.
And with things that are not on screen, a big knock to this movie is the CG. Just across the board, they didn't quite have the budget to actually have a helicopter land, so they edit that
CG
in. Or they film inside of a steady one and then try to make it move. Or we see buildings collapse and you're like, this is rough. People running through smoke, that's hard. I am not a CG artist. I have seen people work on that, and I know editing people into fake smoke when it's not there or they're not there is very difficult. And it's very much shown in this movie.
I was going to compare it to like, it's like, Sci-Fi Channel CG. I was like, actually, The Expanse of CG is actually significantly better than this. So.
Now this isn't like cheap 90s CG. It's a little bit better than that.
It's cheap aught CG.
There we go. It's like Resident Evil. You get some vibes from that. But that being said, there is a long sequence with Nick Nolte and Gerard Butler at night in the woods that is all practically done, as far as I can tell. And this director was previously a stuntman. And he worked on other movies he's directed, like Snitch starring The Rock. And so I'm guessing when it came to stunts specifically, you can see all of his buddies having a blast, literally, in this movie when it came to just over-the-top explosions and action. You can tell that this movie does. One of its strengths is its practical effects.
Speaking of blowing stuff up, I gotta point out that I don't know if Hollywood understands what drones are. Because this is the second movie, this and Venom. It's like, in the drone, they come in and then they crash in and there's an explosion. It's like, that's a missile.
Yeah.
That's what missiles are. That's not what drones do.
I mean...
you could get them to do that, but I'm pretty sure that's not how they're used ever in anything.
Until today.
The bleeding edge now. But yeah, there's not a lot of like, again, if you think about the fact that Gerard Butler's character has like saved the world twice and they're like, oh, is he... bad? It's like, don't spend any time trying to think about this movie.
Now, I'll say, the script does give you reasons for why people would think this, but again, we need to actually think about what kind of person this is. Also, this movie just books it. From terrorist attack to when they convict him, it feels like 45 minutes. They're like, it must have been him. Probably it was him. This is not suspicious whatsoever after this dude.
This wasn't literally super convenient.
He saved 2 full countries. 2. And we're doubting him. That's a little much.
I will say of the universes to live in, this one seems exceptionally nightmarish.
Yeah.
It is challenging. This movie's coming out the same summer as a John Wick movie and also another Fast and Furious movie, even though that's not the most beloved Fast and Furious movie we've ever gotten. I would think that's the natural competition for a movie like this, and it doesn't stack up.
But we've made this analogy in this review, and I think it holds up pretty well. Yeah. Like, I'd say an NCIS or a CSI LA or, Miami are not our cups of tea.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't an audience for them.
Sure.
That is just rabid for that kind of content.
Yeah.
And I think this is for them.
Yeah.
And I think they will very much enjoy it. I think you'll get a kick out of Nick Nolte specifically. And if you're willing to kind of hand wave the CG at times and the plot that kind of just doesn't make sense. It sounds like I'm being very forgiving, but I think that I actually had an okay time watching this movie and an okay time in this movie theater during my viewing. So, just to kind of sum up, I'd say positives, Nick Nolte and the action is worth it. We get one scene that I wish was shot differently where Gerard Butler is escaping a car, and I think it was pretty solid. It's about 2 seconds. But negatives, I'd say, the plot and the CG are pretty subpar. But if we wanted to rate it, I'd say out of 5. And 5 because of the 5 fights that almost broke out in our press screening.
There's a lot of aggression in our theater.
So much.
Out of 5, 3.
Yeah, I give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
I give that pretty solid. Letter grade, don't compare them to the numbers we said. I give it like a solid C plus, B minus. And that's B minus is C plus because I actually just, you know what? C.
There you go.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. Just give it a solid. You know what? Inoffensive. Listen, C's get degrees, all right?
They do.
Yeah. I'd give it a C as well because it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, and the post-credit scene, mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
You can.
It's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I will say that scene, along with other scenes, are a lot like, what are you trying to say about this? You know what I mean? Because it touches on, it feels like it takes topics that people are talking about now and just throws them in there without any really clear intent on its perspective on these things. It's just word soup. You know what I mean? Russians, drones,
mental health.
Mental health. Okay. I don't know what this movie's perspective is, but maybe you'll figure it out and you can let us know in the comments down below.
And this movie does get silly dumb sometimes. It does lean into it sometimes, but there's an opening sequence where it tries to trick you into thinking something, and the way it's edited actually does imply what it's trying to trick you. This movie is pretty dumb sometimes, but I had dumb fun while watching it.
There you go.
So there you go. Let us know if you watched it in the comments down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to stay up to date, and check out our podcast, Only Stupid Answers. And now, when we got into the theater, one woman was screaming at the security guard. Then,
the one in the front, right?
The front.
For inexplicable, what are you yelling about?
Couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Movie starts.
Yes.
Lights are down. We're in the first sequence. 5 people come in looking for seats.
Yeah.
You missed it. Sorry, it is a press screening.
I think I think they took the seats of another woman, and she was angry about that, and so they resolved that, and then
she was screaming at the security guard while the movie was rolling.
Yeah, and then 30 minutes in, this guy in a suit comes in, and he comes and sits down literally right next to me, right here, and just. Good Lord, did you run in? And he immediately pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through it. And so the same woman that was frustrated about the seat situation is like, hey, can you put your phone down? And he's like, I just want to check one thing. And she's like, can you check it outside? No. And so even I'm like, what the fuck? And the guy next to me was like, hey man, don't be a jackass. And on the other side of this guy, so that's what got the guy to put down his phone. But then the rest of the time, he wouldn't stop fidgeting. He took his jacket off, he unrolled his sleeve, he hit the biggest itch in the world on his shoulder. But the guy at the end that told him not to be a jackass was a reviewer, so he had notes. And the guy turned and looked at his notes. And it's what is happening right now?
Oh, and just to kind of cap it off, the ticket validating machines broke, and I'm just I could feel the energy in this room about to explode. And the guy to my right halfway through the movie decided to become like a chatty Cathy.
Yeah.
Anytime something happened, he was like, "Oh, whoa!" and became the loudest chewer in the world.
Yeah.
I think we looked at the same time too. And throwing it out there, that was one fight that almost broke it. I almost flipped on that guy, and a woman behind me kicking the ever-loving shit out of my chair.
Yeah.
What was happening?
I don't know.
They must have been pumping something into that room.
It was a weird energy. That was also the theater that the X-Men incident happened.
Maybe it's
haunted. Maybe it's haunted.
Fire alarm went off.
Yeah.
You know what? Also, if you see this movie, let us know what you thought in the comments down below. But also, let's hear your favorite theater-going experiences.
Yes,
that would
please.
be a pleasure for me.
Yes.
I would love to know what your worst stories are, because boy, howdy, people don't know how to be in a movie theater.
They sure don't.
Just sit down, don't do anything, barely breathe, and then leave.
Yeah.
You won't breathe, go outside. You want to breathe loud, go outside.
He was such a loud breather.
Such a loud breather. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye-bye.